Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something pretty specific but really interesting from the gardening world. It's fine-leaf Greek basil. You might know it as bonsai basil, kind of a cool nickname. Okay, let's unpack this. We're basing this on a really detailed set of notes from a gardener. It's called Notes on Gardening, Part 606. Progress so far on fine-leaf Greek basil, Ocimum Basilicum. Came up super recently, July 26th, 2025.
Exactly. And our goal here really is to pull out the key insights from this gardener's own experience. Understand the actual progress, see what challenges popped up with this specific basil. It gives us that real world feel.
Right, beyond just the label on the seed packet. And speaking of seed packets, here's where it gets really interesting, almost immediately. The source notes this huge gap between what was promised and what happened right at the start.
Oh, definitely. The seed packet, it apparently claimed this amazing, 99% germination rate, almost perfect.
Wow, 99%.
Yeah, but the gardener, their actual success rate was closer to, well, maybe 30%, which is a massive difference.
30%. So that means
It means they only ended up with 3 seedlings that actually survived and grew. Just 3 little plants from, presumably, quite a few seeds.
that's quite a drop-off.
It is. And what's interesting, too, is the gardener mentions their initial growth was pretty slow, noticeably slow. And they point out they didn't do anything special, just regular watering, a bit of fertilizer now and then, no coddling.
So no heroic measures to save them, just standard care.
Right. Which, in a way, makes the survival of those 3 maybe even more significant. Tells you something about the plant itself.
Okay, so after this somewhat challenging start, we've got these 3 slow-growing survivors. What about the plants themselves as they grew? Did the gardener notice any, physical quirks or structural issues?
Yeah, that's exactly where the next kind of hurdle appeared. This variety, despite being called bonsai basil.
Which makes you think small and compact, right?
Exactly. But it actually showed this really strong tendency to just shoot upwards, grow vertically, almost leggy, you could say. And it seemed to have a real struggle just holding itself up, maintaining an upright form was tough for it.
Okay, so growing tall but not strong.
Yeah.
And the gardener linked this difficulty, this sort of floppiness, to the foliage, right? The leaves and branches.
They specifically pointed out that the foliage on this fine-leaf Greek basil is, well, incredibly dense, very bushy.
Which sounds nice visually.
It does. It's appealing. And it's because it has these tiny leaves, but loads of them, and tons of branches, so it creates this very full look. But here's the problem, and this raises an important question about plant structure. All that density makes it really top-heavy.
Ah, okay.
The gardener suggests that this heavy, compact growth up top might be outpacing the stem's ability to, get strong and woody, lignify. So it's like the plant is putting all its energy into making these beautiful, dense leaves.
But not enough into the main support.
Pretty much. The stem just can't seem to keep up with the structural demands of all that weight above it. It gets too top-heavy and, well, it tends to fall over, lodging, as gardeners call it.
That makes a lot of sense. It looks great, but it can't support itself.
Hmm.
So what does this all mean for someone actually trying to grow this? What are the practical implications? Did the gardener suggest how to handle this, like potential fixes?
Yeah, they did. It really means you can't just treat it like any old basil, plant it and forget it. It needs more structural thought. The gardener floated a couple of ideas for down the line. One was repotting it into a maybe deeper container to give the base more support.
Well,
And the other was adding a trellis or some kind of stake. Not just as a maybe, but seemingly as a necessity.
so proactive support is key.
Exactly. To prevent that lodging, especially as it gets bigger,
Yeah.
it implies you need to be pretty hands-on, focusing on stability, not just the usual feeding and watering.
Right. And the gardener's notes, they kind of leave us hanging a bit, in a good way. They mention they'll just keep observing how these 3 plants do over the next week.
Which really highlights that gardening is always this ongoing thing, isn't it? You observe, you adapt, especially with a specific, perhaps slightly tricky cultivar like this one, it's constant learning.
That's so true.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, what this look at fine-leaf Greek basil really shows us is that even with a plant we think we know, like basil, a specific variety can throw you some real curveballs, like these inherent structural weaknesses, the top heaviness from all that dense foliage. It just overrides the standard care rules and, well, it demands you pay attention and intervene structurally.
Yeah, it's a great reminder that what's on the packet isn't always the full story.
Not at all. The reality in the garden can be quite different.
Absolutely. So the core insight, I think, is really about understanding the plant's specific nature, its own characteristics. For this basil, that means acknowledging the dense leaves and that sort of weak vertical growth and working with that, not just against it. You really have to watch what the plant itself is telling you rather than just following generic instructions, especially when those initial expectations, like a 99% germination rate, clearly didn't pan out. So maybe something for you, our listener, to think about. What stands out to you about the journey of growing something, particularly when it doesn't quite, follow the script, or maybe think about what unexpected progress and challenges you've run into in your own projects or learning where the instructions just didn't cover it. It's often where the real learning happens, isn't it?